Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program with me, Julie Ali. We have a dear friend who's been on the show a couple of times, and with a personality like Professor Dr. Ambassador Mehreen, we can't get enough of her on our shows. So once again, in the start of this new year, 2026, alhamdulillah, she's going to be sharing her wisdom with us on air here regarding issues around absolute power and emotional intelligence. And when we talk about these two concepts, we're going to be breaking them up into two segments. We'll have episode 1 this week, and then we'll have a follow-up episode next week, because there's just so much of valuable information to be shared on the show. And I know that you, as our valued viewers, are going to want more of Mehreen. So that's what we've decided to do on the show. We do hope that it's going to add value not only to your life, but to the lives of your loved ones, very especially our school-going children and our university students. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the program this morning Ambassador Mehreen, who is a Global Goodwill Ambassador. She's been awarded by the GIA USA affiliated to the UN, holding honorary doctorates in humanities, psychology, education, and humanitarianism. So let's welcome the good doctor to the show. Assalamu alaikum. Dearest Mehreen, welcome to the program, and once again, an absolute honor to be chatting with you on the show today.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's an absolute honor to be here, and jazakallah khair for having me again. You know, it's been a long time, but I think I'm really, really honored to see you and to be with everyone once again, and inshallah impart whatever I can to everybody as well.
Ameen, thumma ameen. And I think the timing is just absolutely spot on as our children, high school, I guess even primary school learners, yes, high schoolers, and our university students start preparing themselves for the new academic year. And I guess with all of this, it's a changing world out there, and you've got to be in control. You've got to be knowing who you are and what you can give to the world, what can you give of yourself, and what you can take in as well. And having said that, it's all about power. Your power, without being a bully. It's about absolute power, taking control of yourself, your circumstances, and then, just being able to garner all the goodness in whichever setting you might be. And this, I guess, Mehreen, also relates to the workplace as well, does it not? Assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Yes, it is. And the reason why I think power is such a huge thing to talk about at the start of a year, and why I find that it's important, is because, Sister Julie, I'm going to say it eloquently, power is something that is very misconstrued by many people. That word, the concept in itself, is actually abused, in my opinion. And power is not supposed to be about that. Power is not supposed to be where I dictate to the next. Power is not supposed to be where I make somebody feel belittled, or there's bullying supposed to happen because one is better than the other. The power that I'm talking about, or we should be talking about, is about the power of myself, the power of me or you as an individual, everyone out there, our viewers. It's about you understanding you, and you actually having that ability to control yourself, to control your life, to control your choices. And we see this, the matrics have just written, we've seen how they contemplate, what am I going to do once I'm out of school? We see the grade 7s in primary school battling with, oh my gosh, I'm going to high school. And what's worse is we see how the parents or the guardians actually themselves go stressed out because these are the things that are happening. But if we are not in control of these specific instances, and these are just examples I'm giving you, obviously those circumstances are going to be taking control of the person as opposed to what it's supposed to be, which is where I'm in control of it. So it's about recognizing when these things are happening so that I am in control of this. And my superpower sits in the fact that I have that ability inside me. I do not need to give that power away. I have that ability inside me where I have that inner strength. I have the confidence within me. I have that almost the autonomy within me that aligns myself with my values, my goals, my aspirations, and I'm able to use those to create that awareness about myself to know in this circumstances, I have the power in me to know what's best for me. I'm also in a circumstance where I have the power within me to make the correct decision for those around me. So remember, life every day is happening. It's not just about you on your own. Life is about you and your networking. A hypothetical example is when I'm driving and if stuck in traffic, I have the power within me to decide on whether I'm going to be taking advantage of this space to rather maybe do my zikrullah or think about something and go with the flow because I'm not in control of the traffic. Or I have the choice of getting all raged up because I'm going to be late and yet I'm not in control of what's happening. So in that essence, in that example, you are actually in control of your choice that you are making in your vehicle in order to get to the place that you need to get to safely and with the sane mind. So a lot of this depends on you as an individual, me as an individual.
So let me come in here. Let me interrupt you here. I like the analogy you used about being in traffic. What is it saying about that person who loses control, rants and raves in a traffic jam situation? What's it saying about his or her character? Because they can't control these circumstances that they find themselves in. Is it going to serve them well? Absolutely not. But what's it saying about his or her character?
Clearly, it speaks two things. It speaks two things. One, it speaks of where am I coming from. So when I left home, what did I leave home with? Did I leave home on a bad note, for example? Did something trigger me where I woke up in a bad space or I was running late and everything else went wrong in my home? So I got into my car in this space and now the traffic is culminated this inside me. So the rage is not just now, it's like built up. Or it's the second where I'm just somebody who's characteristically not in control of myself. I'm constantly depending on something external to be able to validate me in my space. That speaks about your character. If you lose it too quickly and you're not able to naturally take the time out before you react, then you don't have the power to control that action or your reaction to people. Remember, the control and the power sits with not only how I'm acting, but also how I react. So when I'm using this example of the traffic, I'm talking about my reaction to this traffic. What am I doing when I'm losing control? I'm reacting. But what am I reacting to? Something that's beyond my control. I have no control of this. When that speaks volumes about me as a character, it means I need to think about it. I need to take a step back. And it's only going to be when I'm aware of myself in that moment that I'm going to know I'm transgressing on my own power. And giving away that power.
Here's another classic example, and we see this around us all of the time. Let's take a married couple and a husband who's probably in a high-powered job and is constantly under stress. And the way he responds and interacts with his wife is always from this position of aggression. You know, shouting and screaming and ranting and raving, almost very authoritarian. But in the workplace, he doesn't do that. He kind of has this demeanor of an in control person. My employees love me. I love them. There's this relationship of mutual respect and love and admiration and whatever else goes into it. But the moment he comes home, he dumps on everybody at home. What's going on here? How does the wife respond? Because oftentimes when you're in that sort of a dynamic relationship, I think the wife feels so helpless that the only thing she then knows how is to react in a similar manner. But fire, two wrongs don't make a right, or you can't fight fire with fire. How do we diffuse the situation? What sort of conversations need to happen with these two personalities to have a very harmonious relationship in the home?
The first thing I'd say is when somebody, especially if a male demeanor comes home, when you are male, you're growing up in a space that is almost dictatorial, that you are male, therefore you have to be ABC. there is no gray area when you are the male. If that is the space you grew up with, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, I'm saying this example you gave me is what I'm referring to. If you grew up in that space, or if you grew up in a space where you saw the similar behavior from your dad or the males in your home, and you saw the woman conform to that, then you are expectant of the woman that you're coming home to do the same. Therefore, when she's going to speak back, you're going to think, oh my gosh, why are you reacting? And then it becomes volatile. But you need to, as a male in that space, also think about, what am I doing? Because when you grew up that way, you were not in a happy space. You knew it was transgression. You knew how you felt. You knew what emotional abuse you were going through, and you knew what tarnished you. It tarnished your moments. And you, as a woman who is there in that space with this male, obviously this is not the person that you knew when you got married to him. You obviously probably saw the guy who's at work. You saw the very controlled version of him.
Okay,
you saw the very
Mehreen,
nice guy.
I
Yes.
do apologize. Can I interrupt you for a break? We will
Sure.
pick up as soon as we get back, inshallah. Please stand by.
Okay.
We're talking absolute power with my guest, Mehreen Mia, and let's pick up from where we left off when we took the ad break, and we're talking about this couple in the home, the way the husband reacts to the wife as opposed to how he behaves in the workplace. So would you like to pick up from where you left off, please, Mehreen?
Yes, sure. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we were talking about the ladies' part of this, because we said that the male's probably coming from a space where he grew up with this, or he's known this all his life, so he thinks it's a norm. And the woman, of course, didn't know this is the male she's going to be marrying. She didn't expect this kind of behavior, because she probably saw the male version that was going to work all the time, the very controlled person, the very calm person. She didn't know the volatile part. However, you cannot, and as a woman I am saying this, you cannot be subdued, because remember, especially if you have children, your children are leeches of your actions, not necessarily your words. So how you behave in reaction to him is going to be what your children are going to also leech off from. Your best bet would be, firstly, to get help, not just for you, but for him as well. He might obviously say no, but the bonus is for you to empower yourself to know, in this space, I don't want to leave him, but I do want to grow, and I want him to get out of this, because I know there's some good in him. Obviously there's good in him, because there's a different person going to work. And only after perhaps he gets assessed, which is something he might be reluctant to do, will we know whether there's a probable bipolar disorder, or there's probably something wrong in his childhood, which can be diminished upon him dealing with it. There's a lot of scope out there where you can get help. The problem we have is when women especially find fear becomes the barrier to getting that help. And I say, motivate yourself that when I'm getting the help, I'm helping my space. I'm growing him and I'm growing my children. And that's not becoming powerful over him. That's you actually taking control of you in your space, which is benefiting him. And that becomes his powerhouse where he can grow, because he'll realize where his wrongs are. None of us are right. And you, as the wife, the worst you can do is add fuel to the fire, like you said in the example. The one thing we don't do is do that. So when we see it coming, be aware of it and stop it.
Okay, so let me ask you this question then, Mehreen. Let's assume, for whatever reason, this couple do not decide to go into therapy to address all of the issues, because you're absolutely right. A lot of men who behave in a certain way or behave unsocially indicates that, you know, they're sitting with very deep-rooted problems. But we know that there still seems to be a stigma for men, you know, men seeking therapy. We hope and pray that, you know, soon it will be a very accepted norm like it is elsewhere in the world. But he refuses to go. She's also perhaps reluctant to go. It might be finances or whatever else, or he stops her from going. Is there anything you could say to this woman regarding how she responds to her husband under those circumstances, just to have peace and quiet in the home?
The first thing I'd ask her is to define what peace and quiet means for her. Because if you're going to define the peace and quiet in terms of the second person or the outer person, then again, it's not about you. It needs to come back to draw the power into you as the person. So if you are my sister and you're going through this right now, you need to sit back. And if you have time in the day when those kids have gone to school and when he's gone to work, that's your time out. Sit there and do some self-introspection. Think about things for you. Am I growing through this? Am I getting any better through this? What do I need to do to change it? And you alone have the power to make those changes. Sometimes the changes don't even have to be where you leave home. Because some of these things in the workshops, for example, that I do, there are other people I work with that do these. We do it online. You see our YouTube videos out there. Go and equip yourself with tools that help you to develop you. So you take charge of yourself in these situations. Many a time, and when you go and listen to one of our videos, you would see yourself in something we say. If that is you, then the answers are there. Listen to it. If you think you can't go for the help is somewhere on the networks. And technology is just there right now. There is no reason to sit back and say, I have to succumb. Not when there's so much of help that is waiting for you out there. So you got to do this introspection for you and ask yourself, I'm in this space right now. Do your pros and cons. We're not saying break your home, but we are saying be realistic about your space. Are you willing to go through what you have to go through? If you think he's not going to get the help, do you want to get help for you and your children? What are your options? Is there somebody you can speak to in your family? Is there an elder that you can go to? Because there are people that will listen. And the one thing I want to say to a sister who's going through this, please do not think that when you speak up, you're failing.
Absolutely.
Because
okay, Mehreen.
You are not failing.
I have one or two very important questions for you regarding power play, but then let's also move the conversation into the education space, because we want to target that area, and both the educator and the learner needs to understand what they're up against and how they navigate those spaces. So what are some of the examples of power questions we should be aware of?
So I categorize these under 4 different labels. So when I do this, you get empowerment questions, and you get self-discovery questions, you get questions about your confidence, you get questions about your goal orientation. There's different levels and different the concepts that you have to deal with. So you got to know, am I looking to empower myself from a empowerment point of view? Am I looking to and give myself power from a self-discovery point of view? Am I having issues regarding setting my goals? Or do I have low self-esteem? Am I looking to boost my confidence? So it depends on which of these concepts you're looking to boost yourself with for power. If you are looking at the empowerment questions, for example, there I would say to somebody, ask yourself questions like, what are my core values? Now, we all know this, but the addition to help you to empower yourself through the question is, am I living in alignment with my values? So if I know what my value is, am I living in alignment with it? And then another question you can ask yourself for empowerment portion, the empowerment portion is, do I know what my strengths are? And if I do have my strengths and I know what they are, am I actually using them to achieve my goals? So it's not just about getting the first part of the question for your empowerment sector right. It's about knowing how you're utilizing it to benefit you. And that is where you're going to see the power in yourself. Because when I know these things about me, I will know where I'm going. If I'm looking to discover myself, certain things about me, which I think I don't know, then one of the questions you can ask yourself, for example, would be, what are my passions? But not just what are my passions. The second portion of the question would be, how am I going to incorporate my passion into my life daily so I feel satisfied? That would help you understand, am I discovering certain things about me, new things? Am I negating the old bad things? It's about your discovery for you. And it's going to automatically help you get to incorporate that in your daily life, where you feel, I'm living my passion, I'm happy with my life, I'm going places, and I'm living my purpose, because that's what it's about. It's about you finding that balance that you need. So like I said to you, when we go into the confidence boosting portion, lots of us don't even give ourselves enough credit for how far we've come, because we still look for the validation outside.
Okay,
so in that essence,
the all-important question, Mehreen. When we do these self-discovery type of questions, can we truly be honest with ourselves? I've kind of gone through some of these exercises, and I kind of say to myself, I think you're being too lenient on yourself, or you're being too harsh. Really, what I'm asking is, can we truly be objective?
Well, the whole idea, in essence, is if somebody has to come to see me, if you're one of my patients or one of my people that I'm treating, the first thing I tell you is, you're going to have to know, one of the things I can read about you is whether you're telling me something that you'd like me to hear or whether you're being honest with yourself. None of this is going to ever work if you're not honest with you, which is why we say some of these practical exercises you got to do in your quiet time, because being honest with yourself is the key to you living your authenticity. And that is for us is the key. You got to live your truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that for you. And He is willing to accept from you, you as who you are. So why do you need to undermine who you are or overesteem yourself? You need to be real. And being real means being honest. For example, if any of these examples that we use today shows your reality, then the reality is what you're working from. If I don't know my real space right now, then what exactly is my power if I'm reacting to it? I'm not actually giving essence into it because it's not my truth. Okay. So you're going to have to live your truth in your authentic being. But to do that and to empower yourself, go through these questions, for example, you're going to have to know you and understand you. And one of the things you said is so key, Sister Julie, and that is many a time we don't even look at ourselves. I'm going to say this. I was just as guilty. Whenever you have an accomplishment, you actually draw it down. It's no big deal because it is. Okay, we eat humble pie. But sometimes you got to give yourself the tap on the back. And I give that to every woman out there. And no disrespect to any of our brothers out there, but to every woman who's actually making things happen from morning to night for herself, for her home, for her family. How often do they ever get a thank you? We don't ever do that. So I'm saying, give yourself the thank you. Feel that I have an accomplishment where I've dealt with so many things in my day. Give yourself the gratitude at the end of the day and celebrate you, that you get through every day. Celebrate these small things, and the small things become your bigger picture. And then you start to see you in a positive light. But when you are sitting there, Sister Julie, and you're going through these and you think, I can't be that honest with me, it's not right. That alone is something that is a question mark. You have to ask yourself, why? Why do I not want to be honest with myself? What is my stumbling block? Because that is your block that you need to overcome. So inshallah, when you do that, you will find your goals become easier. You set your priorities more, in a more aligned space that you are okay to accomplish them. And remember, when you want to take steps to move in your life, it's good to have the vision, which is a big one. It's good to know I want that ultimate goal for me. But remember, you got to go through the baby goals first. So don't set yourself goals that are just one long term. Set yourself the smaller goals that I want to get through this. I want to find this. And in each one that you accomplish, give yourself the credit for accomplishing it. And you know what? That is your power. I'm building up my absolute power with my everyday positives that I'm building up.
Let's pause for a minute there. We'll be back again to continue this discussion. I also want to touch on people pleasers. Clearly, they're giving away their power if they are people pleasers, and we'll look into that concept right after the break. Welcome back. I just want to tell you a little more about our guest, Mehreen. Through her international and local work in education and resource training, Mehreen has earned multiple global awards, including her most recent award being the Champion of Globe Change Awards. This was conferred on her on the 24th of October of this year by, I think it's pronounced, Kartiki Global Foundation. So many congratulations, Mehreen, and welcome back.
Jazakallah khair.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that award, and then we can pick up on people pleasing and moving on to the very important components of self-help?
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, these are all blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I must say, because the thing is, one of my programs is the MIA program, and it's running across the globe. So it touches on school, children, and it also touches on the adults. I kind of do it on a triangular basis. So we're dealing with the child, we're dealing with parents, we're dealing with teachers. That's on the educational level. So we find that holistic education works. And then part of that becomes the empowerment sector. And that is not just orientated for women only, although that is my main focus. There are many programs that are issued for just humanity to keep building because there's so many negatives. So alhamdulillah, there's been a lot of positives across the globe. There's been many children who have now finished school, who have become entrepreneurs that are successful. There are many positive stories that have come through. Some of them actually I don't know the end result of, because they go through the program and then they use the tools that I teach or that they found in the program for themselves, and they become better, and that becomes the catalyst effect. And inshallah, that is the goal. That is the goal for me, for what I do, is I want to keep giving, because the more I give, the more those can keep giving. And inshallah, that would be the legacy, because we keep growing humanity and our ummah like that, inshallah. I mean, so that was conferred on me because from a global perspective, the program starts in the communities, and that's been building societies. And those children are taking it forward into building their little communities as well. So alhamdulillah, I was very honored to receive that, because it's an accomplishment, because I see that it is working. And I don't teach from just a textbook. My program was designed from my life. My program was designed, the psychology is there, everything else is there, but the lessons that I learned are what I teach of. And I try and make everybody realize that your narrative speaks volumes. Do not ignore it. So even your accomplishments, don't ignore, because that's the universe saying to you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying to you, just keep going, because you are doing something right. People pleasing, that was definitely me. When you mention it, I see myself like, oh my gosh, this was me. This was so me. I did it as I was growing up, Sister Julie. I was an only child. I am an only child. But growing up, obviously, as the only child, you look to always make everybody pleased. Everybody's going to make sure you're happy with your report. You want to make sure those A's are there, because everybody's got to be proud of Mehreen's results. And everybody waits to see it, because you're the only one in the family. And then when others come along, you become the one they compare to. So the pressure's on all the time, right? And then the problem with that is when you grow out of schooling, you go into university, you try and gain more, but you gain in the wrong way. When I say gain, I'm talking about, because of being the only child, I personally used to look to gain friends, but in the wrong sense. Like, I would just do stuff that they would like me to do for them, just so that I could gain for them to like me.
So you were being used. You allowed yourself to be used and exploited. That also talks, does that also not talk to self-esteem issues?
It does. It does. And you know what? It's only when I realized what was happening with me that I realized what was going on inside me. And then I decided, I don't actually do this. It's not what I need, because I was given a home from my parents, which was very holistic and very all well-rounded, well-balanced. I was allowed to be me. I was allowed to be vocal. And yet I was allowing myself to be diminished somewhat by people abusing me. And I was, at some point, it got to me and I said, this is not me. But remember, when it got to me, it was the painful portion. That's when your reality hits and you realize, oh my gosh, I actually gave too much. I shouldn't have been doing it. I can't go back there, but how am I going to say no? So your self-esteem is diminished on the one hand, because you're trying to fit in, instead of being who you have to be, which is what my family taught me, that it's okay to stand out. So that became something that I had to learn the hard way. So even though mom would hound me about, you don't have to do this for people, because you got to just do it for you. Are you happy? Is Allah happy? I would hear that from her. I hear it from my dad. But I wanted to be part of the crowd. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be under that tree with the balance of them who were sitting there. I wanted to be with those girls who were there and dressed up in that way. So I would try to fit in whatever way possible, but it was not me. And I would diminish a small part of me each time I did it. So it's like something eating away at you, which is your authenticity, and it's going and it's going. And eventually you've got this raw skeleton left and you got to fill it up again. And the only way I could do that was to realize, wait, Mehreen, it's okay to be you. And it's okay to not be a part of everything, because you can just be you and your tribe will find you. And alhamdulillah, it does. When you are in your space and you are in your zone and you're happy with you, then your kind of people will find you. And that's not to say we judge others. It's just to say, I am me. I therefore don't have to belittle myself to fit in. I got to be me. Those people are happy with who they are. Alhamdulillah, that is beautiful. I need to be happy with who I am, because when I pass on, I have to actually answer for me. So am I being my truth? Am I living my truth? Am I not? So I need to build myself up again. And building myself up again after that took a lot. I have to say it did take a lot, because then is when I realized the wrongs about me. Then is when I had to go with my own awareness about me. And it's not an easy one to do.
So Mehreen, the all-important question. Yeah. You kind of realized this a little later on in your life. We wanting to protect our school-going and university-going children. And I'm kind of wondering, is some of these concepts that you and I are talking about today won't they only be learned through probably experience? So you have a disappointing experience, a negative experience, etc., to make you realize that I've been on the wrong path, I've been making the wrong choices, the wrong decisions, I've been putting myself down, and people have taken advantage of me. So that's the one part. Where and how do we as parents guide our children? And we can't protect them from everything. We can't. They're going to have to learn through hard lessons, through the mistakes they make. They need to, as my mom used to always say, burn your fingers, and you'll never repeat that mistake again. What's your take on that?
I think one of my things I'm going to share is that I work at many schools, and because of working at the different variations of schools, private and public schools, I've also met with these different parents. The parents play a very huge role in how these kids perceive themselves in the schools. And I'm going to say it outwardly. When you are somebody who's spoiling your child materialistically, and that child walks into a school with the behavior pattern of, I am the best, I own the best, I have the best, and they belittle the balance of the children who don't have the same, we have to ask ourselves, where is it coming from? And I only speak that outwardly because very often I have children that are being sent to me or to my colleagues to say, this child is bullying everybody else. Children are crying because this child keeps saying things. This child is growing up believing that it's okay to say these things because this child is leeching onto actions that are at home. So this child is seeing mom and dad saying to other people these things about their smart car, these things about so there's no humble pie being eaten about the beauties that they have, the luxuries that they have. They are being forceful in their homes, in their families. When the families are getting together, it's being noticed that this is a different family from the rest. So this child is actually not just a bully. This child is implementing a bullying behavior that is a learned behavior at home. So it doesn't just stem anywhere. And Sister Julie, between when I was at school or you were and now, and that's not giving age away, I promise, it's a very different array because back then we had guidance counselors, yes, but we never had the inept discussions with teachers like they do in the LO syllabus now at schools. They never had the pointing out of what bullying actually is. We knew of it, but we didn't know the details. We never had people come to school and give us workshops to tell us what these things are, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. We didn't really have too much of that. And that's because we had stricter measures back then. But we still went through the pains. Right now, though, I ask myself all the time, I go to these schools, yes, we have some positives from many, but why do we still have such a high rate of bullying? Why do we have such a high rate of violence in schools, the gangsterisms in schools? Why do we have such a high rate of teenage pregnancy still happening? Why do we have so many things still happening? Why do parents not attend the parent-child workshops that we want to have? Because they don't have time. If you don't have time as the parent for this child, then where's the child going to find the comfort and time in something that is wrong? So we have to go back and say, yes, the issues that we have with people pleasing and the whatever that we experienced were painful, but we have the guidance and the structure in place to make us see the light, to make us get the support that was needed to become better. But when it's a learned behavior and there's nobody willing to listen when something is going wrong, then what's going to happen to the child today? So this is where we have to see things as they are and try and make it different. That's where the power sits also, that abuse of power. And sometimes, unfortunately, even the teachers feel intimidated by certain parents or certain children. We're seeing it.
Absolutely.
Children are speaking back at teachers. Don't speak to me like that because my parent pays this in the school. This is what is happening. It's right.
Sadly true. We're going to take another little break now, and when we come back, Mehreen, we will be wrapping up. And I think the 2 or 3 very important questions we do need to look at regarding power and, just how we use power in a positive way and with respect. And given your work with such a vast array of people, would you think that there's some of the hindering challenges we're facing today has to do with power and our arrogance? We get overtaken almost by the sense of power that we believe we are entitled to, or we owed, or, you know, we have because we come from a privileged background? All of that and more right after the break. Back to you, Mehreen, and of course, we are looking at power play, power struggles, how our children can assert themselves in the schoolroom, in the classroom, and of course in a tertiary setting as well. But whatever we're talking about here today regarding the art of absolute power really will serve us well from the time we start primary school throughout into old age. If we can just understand the art of absolute power, if we understand that power is really about your respectful interactions with each other, because these power plays play out in the workspace as well. And we often hear of toxic work environments. We also hear of subtle bullying tactics in the workplace, in the home, in the school. And do we kind of deal differently with the subtle bullying tactics, Mehreen, and the very overt, harsh, authoritarian bullying tactics regarding power is concerned? So over to you.
So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it is definitely treated differently because the person who's doing the subtle bullying has a very different persona and mindset compared to the one who's overtly doing it. And both their backgrounds might be similar, yet the character is different. So the treatment for that would be very, very different for each one. The one thing I must say, though, is what you touched on regarding the workplace and the different variations of where you'd find the power play between people. A lot of that, Sister Julie, comes from our levels of communication. And how to communicate is so important because at any given time throughout the day, you are communicating. We sometimes don't even know how, but your body language communicates, your eyes communicate, you are communicating, whether it's just to go and buy your bread or your milk, but you are communicating. But the level of communication that I want to just pause and mention here before we close today is the level of communication you have with yourself. And we don't ever sit to take cognizance of how do I talk to myself in any given space? How do you refer to you? How do you talk about you? How do you want people to talk to you? A lot about how I talk to myself is what I'm going to give off from myself. And that's a superpower on its own. If I know certain things are what offends me, I would not want to therefore offend other people with the same thing. So in these two examples that you gave me of the subtle versus the overt, these are two things that these two people are going to have to understand about themselves when they do, the self-awareness questionnaire. And they will come up with different things about them that you would know, I want to shift, I want to change. But it's all about me wanting that recognition. I want the external recognition. That validation is so key for me to be accepted, for me to be given the glory, for me to be given ABC, because I function on that, as opposed to somebody who just functions on knowing they're okay. So if you're sitting at a boardroom, for example, you'd have somebody sitting there and they will go on about they do this and they do that and they want to hands-on on everything. And everybody else there is almost like subdued because what do we want to say if this person says it all? Yet that person that is so vocal, that is a know-it-all, I got to do everything and I'm the one who does it all, that is the person that needs the most help because that person is wanting the validation so badly. That person is not wanting to do it for the sake of getting something done for the benefit of your institution. It is being done for their selfish gain. That person needs help to get in touch with that space in them. And it's important for that person to learn the skill of how am I speaking to myself? When I want to go out there and make the world know this about me, why does the world have to recognize it? Allah recognizes it and you do. When I'm in tune with myself, that is my bonus power. Because then I'm able to give off from there. The world doesn't have to validate that. I validate it because I know me. So that essence of communication is key for me to talk about myself because the power play is wedged on, do I know myself well enough to know my action and my reaction to things versus me understanding that about other people. And then in terms of challenges, there are so many, Sister Julie. Challenges are, we have challenges that would be internal with people. You would have external challenges and you would have others. If I talk internal challenges, I'm talking about, if you are somebody who doubts yourself all the time. You question your abilities, you judge yourself more than you judge anything else. You question your worth and you undermine yourself and your superpower. You talk to yourself negatively. This is an internal challenge. You criticize or belittle yourself, or you make excuses that somebody else's wrongdoing is because of something you did, because that makes more sense for you. So you almost erode your own self-esteem instead of building it up. You have this level of fear of failure. You have this thing of, I got to keep making people think I'm successful because I can't have people think negative about me. Where does that stem from? These are internal challenges that you would have. When I talk external challenges, I'm talking about things like the social conditioning that we spoke about in our first segment of today, where we said the male dominant space comes from where you come from, what you are taught, and your roles and your responsibilities. So those almost societal expectations and where that leads you to become your norm or your stereotype. We talk about toxic relationships, like you just mentioned. Toxicity is huge, but do I see it in myself? I'm quick to see it in other people, and people out there are quick to see it in others as well. But if you are in your relationship with yourself, do you see the toxicity in you? That's the challenge. Then you do also have practical challenges, and this is where I use a lot when it comes to kids.
So can I come in here? Can I come in
Yeah.
here? Before we wrap up today, are you able to give us some quick power tools? Is there such a thing as quick power tools that we could use to enhance our interactions with the people around us? Because if those are fixed, if there's this comfort level between the people we interact on a regular basis, we're going to be in a happy space. It's not always happily ever after, but at least we're going to feel comfortable going to that space instead of dreading to go to the workplace or to the schoolroom or, hubby coming home tonight, etc.
Yeah. So, no, there is no quick fix, but there are some tools we can give you. The most important one, I would say, is, are you in tune with you as a self, as your authentic being? When I ask that question, I'm asking it on multiple levels, and that's your first power tool. The first power tool is to get in touch with you. Know you. If I'm going to my workspace, if I'm going to a space, I have a role. Therefore, I have responsibilities and duties and obligations. What are those? Am I compliant with them during my course of my day? And when I'm doing that during my course of my day, how influential or necessary is it going to be for somebody else and what they're saying or doing or thinking? How influential is that to my tasks being complete at my workplace? That I allow that power to come into my space. So it's almost like if I'm in tune with myself and I know I'm there for that purpose, that becomes my purpose and order of the day. I don't allow for the other things to influence my power set order of my day. The same applies to you in your home. If you are going to visit somebody, and I'm going to use this hypothetically, this is no one in particular. If I'm going to visit someone and I know, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to this house and that person just great, I don't like this person, but I know I have to go there because it's family or whatever the reason may be. I'm going there for my purpose. I'm not going there for their purpose. So when I know this, there's my differentiation already. My power sits with me in everything that I'm doing. So when I'm going to see somebody, when I want to ask somebody, if I ask Sister Julie, how are you? How have you been? I'm asking her because I want to know, for me to know about her. I'm not doing it for her to know what she needs to know. She already knows how she is. So if I know that my reasons for doing things are my own, that becomes my power. I'm going to see so-and-so, but it's my purpose. I'm going to give this to so-and-so because I want to give it, not because I'm expecting something in return. I want to give off this to these people. I don't want them to know that it's from me, but it's because I want to give it, not because I want credit for it from anybody else. So it's about you. You have control on the reasons you are doing it. What is your niyat behind certain things? The same applies to your workplace. And when it comes to talking to people, the only tool I can think of, and it's not just something that you can randomly do, is understand yourself in the communication level with the person. If you know that the person is going to continuously say things that are going to gall you or irritate you or make you get more offended, then are you going to really allow that to come into your space? You're going to know the skill of they saying it, but it's not me saying it. They may be saying it to me, they can be saying it about me, but it's still not me. So you define what you take in, what you consume and what you don't. I can give you a quick analogy, Sister Julie, and this might just sum it up, I think. So I use this a lot in my workshops. It's about if I'm hungry and I want to go to eat, I go to my fridge and I'm opening my door and I go and I take out some cheese and I take out some milk. I'm going to make some tea and I'm going to take out some bread and I'm going to make a cheese sandwich, right? But then I look at my cheese and I see this cheese is all moldy now. And I see the milk is also gone off once I boil it. Now, we all know that I'm not supposed to have toxic stuff in my body, so the cheese is going to be toxic, so that's out the way. Milk I can't use, so you know what? I can't use these things. Why am I not going to consume that cheese and milk? Because I know it's toxic for my system. It's going to make me feel sick. Apply the same analogy to your life. That can be my quick power tool to you. No, I'm not saying think about me every time you open your fridge or use cheese. But think about this in life. If something is known to you as toxic for you, why do you want to consume it? I can still fulfill my hunger making that black cup of tea and just having buttered bread. I don't have to have the luxury of the cheese and the milk, but I can still consume something to curb my hunger. So you have the choice of what goes in and what you don't.
Okay.
So do you want to consume stuff toxic for you or not? Your choice. Your power.
And that brings us to the end of this fascinating discussion with Ambassador Mehreen Mia. Well, actually, your full title is, in fact, Professor Dr. Ambassador Mehreen Mia, and what a pleasure to always interact with you. I walk away learning so much, and I do know that our viewers value your input as well. But the good news is that we are going to be having a part 2 to this discussion, and it will play out next week. So be sure to watch, be sure to listen, and it's certainly going to do a world of goodness. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, accept from you, and continue your amazing work. Mehreen Mia, from me, Julie Ali, Khuda Hafiz.